All right, to follow up our last video where we went over testing the unit and mounting everything to the box, the solar panel, to the camera, brackets, everything else, we're going to talk about the actual installation today on a post. You'll see here in our little test, we've done a wooden post that's square. This is not the ideal scenario. Having something that's steel or metal that's circular is sort of the best bet you have for mounting this really well. A couple key things to note here before we jump right into it. If you want to take a look here, when you're dealing with the wooden posts, you can see there's a bit of slack in some places and going all the way around. Key note with wooden posts, instead of using these bolts, you could skip the straps entirely, skip the mounting brackets entirely, and just lag bolt directly into the wood. That's probably the easiest way to do it when you're dealing with wood. When it comes to square posts, you're going to have to tighten this really well, and be aware when you are tightening these on a wooden post, because of the straps, there's small little, I'll just show you on here, a little easier. The hex bolts, when you're getting really tight on a wooden post, because there's give instead of a steel post, these can break off. That way you can put the straps on with the brackets in advance. And the key way to do that, it's very simple. When you have these loose, you're just going to put them right through the two strap holes, push it through, slide it around to where you want it, connect it on the other end, tighten it, then use your electric drill or impact driver to tighten up the strap. Once you do have everything mounted, we've shown this for posterity's sake as to good and bad practices. First things first, the excess wires that you have from either camera, solar panel, you're going to want to zip tie. And then once you've zip tied that together, you're going to want to zip tie that directly to the strap. Okay? This, bad practices. Okay? Loose wire you've wrapped around a pole, it hanging down. We want as little movement in the wires as humanly possible. As well, when it comes to camera mounting, you'll see how we've done it here. The bracket is sideways. Because this is a ball pivot mount, you can mount this in a bunch of different configurations. This could be up, facing up, with the ball mount facing down. Just be aware when you're doing this, sort of how you want this configured. Just make sure it's tight. The camera needs to be the tightest thing here for obvious reasons. Once everything's up and running and we're good, we know that the air and relative humidity sensors come out to at least the top of the gold piece here you can see. We want it down at least that far. We don't want any of this inside the bracket. Make sure that's tight. You're in camera 1 if you're single head. Solar panels attached to the proper port here. We're going to want to do some local testing similar to what we did in the last video using the Cameo 192.168.4.1. There we go. Cameo pops up. Connect. Quickly go to your browser, 192.168.4.1. You're going to get this pop up. Keynote here, voltage. Okay, since we do have a solar panel connected and it is nice and sunny today, we're seeing over 14. It is climbing currently, going back down, but it's going to be around there, between 13 and 14. What happens if I cover up the solar panel? You should see the voltage go down. And then let go, back into the sun. Voltage should go back up. Nice and easy. Okay. Beyond that, you've already tested the sensors, but you can do that again if you scroll back down. Okay. You can click a snapshot, force it to take a picture. Okay. It takes between 30 and 45 seconds roughly. So we've done our Cam 1 snapshot, it's appeared here. You can also update temperature data. Since we're talking about the temperature, you'll see this here. Don't worry about the emissivity, but generally speaking, you do want it to be around 0.70. So you can adjust this, then hit set new emissivity. When you are dealing with the infrared pavement temperature sensor, be aware that this is adjustable. It can adjust to about 30 degrees. We can move it, okay, to make sure that you're getting a good line at, not catching a curb, not catching lawn. You want it solely focused on pavement. As well, when you're taking the camera picture as your test, you can adjust the angle of this afterwards. So maybe take a test thing. If you don't like the camera angle, then adjust the camera, take a new test until you're happy with what it's doing. Lastly, when you're dealing with closing the box, as mentioned in our kind of setup test video, for mounting all the stuff, you want to make sure that none of the wires are pinched inside the gasket on the outside. So ensure that these are inside nice and tight. And that when you close the box, you're being very conscious. Don't just slam these closed. You'll see as I try and close this, the white and black wires want to come down to the bottom. You want to make sure that's up in before we close the box. And you should be good to go.